where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man ta'allama al-ilma liyubahiya bihi al-ulama wa yujariya bihi as-sufaha wa yasrifa bihi wujuha an-nas ilayhi adkhalahu Allahu jahannam." The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever learns knowledge, whoever acquires sacred knowledge, for one of three things. Number one, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, liyubahiya bihi al-ulama, to argue with those that are more learned than him, as a tool of argumentation. Or, وَيُجَارِيَ بِهِ السُّفَهَاء, to shame someone who is less knowledgeable than him. So either to argue with someone who has more knowledge, or to put someone down, to shame someone who is considered less knowledgeable than him, those who are considered ignorant. Or, يَصْرِفَ بِهِ وُجُوهَ النَّاسَ إِلَيْهِ, to turn people's faces towards him, meaning what? To be the center of attention. أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ جَهَنَّمْ, Allah would enter that person into the fire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Allahumma ameen. Now subhanAllah, what makes this narration so profound first and foremost is that every version of it ends with أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ النَّارِ أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ جَهَنَّمْ. Allah would enter this person into the fire, Allah would enter this person into Jahannam. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ famously said that whoever seeks out a path of knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate the path to Jannah for that person. Knowledge is a path to Jannah, so how here does knowledge become a path to the fire? Now if you're speaking to a person who's trying to learn this beautiful religion, then obviously you would talk about how important it is to not fall into the traps of trying to acquire this knowledge for any of the reasons that are mentioned in this hadith. But even if you are not seeking sacred knowledge or trying to become a scholar, this hadith is still applicable to you, because the underlying spiritual condition of all three of those scenarios applies to every single Muslim, whether it's sacred knowledge or not. And so, do you seek knowledge, as in Islamic knowledge, so that you could win a WhatsApp conversation, right? Or an argument online? Do you seek knowledge so that people will turn their faces towards you, to become the center of attention? Now remove the Islamic element. Let's say that you're talking about something completely irrelevant to Islam, right? Everything is relevant to Islam, but completely irrelevant to the pursuit of sacred knowledge. All of this still applies. You're on Twitter and you want to win something, you want to appear to be a certain way, or you're in some sort of a dialogue, so you want to Google something so that you can have the answer to prop yourself up or to put someone down. It could be fantasy football. It's still an underlying spiritual condition here. It still applies to you. Do you try to attract people's attention to you? Do you put people down in conversation and seek out knowledge, Islamic or worldly, for the sake of trying to put someone down? And do you seek out those things so that you could have an argument or put yourself on a level with someone that knows more than you, because you don't like the feeling of being a degree less than anyone in anything? Then it becomes just like a person who wants to build a house that is as big as someone else because they don't like having a smaller house. Or a person who wants to outshine someone in a wedding because, they don't want to be outshined in this way. Or a person who wants to dress a certain way. The only thing that changes here is that the tool by which those things are sought is sacred knowledge, is ilm, which makes it that much more dangerous. Because that means that your craving for attention, your pride and your ego, nafsin la tashba', connected to last week, a soul that is never satisfied, a self that's never satisfied, will even resort to using religion in order to feed those cravings. So even the Quran, like I'll use an ayah of the Quran, I'll find a hadith, I'll learn some poetry if I have to. I'll do anything in order to become a center of attention, or to put someone down, or to argue with somebody. Because I have nafsin la tashba' wa qalbin la yakhsha', a heart that is not humble, and a self that I have to keep on feeding. And subhanAllah, it becomes more flammable with ilm, with knowledge. Why? Because as Bishr al-Hafi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, rahimahullah, he said that I'd rather someone seek out the material world through becoming a singer than becoming a scholar. Why? Because at least you're using batil to achieve batil. You're using means of falsehood to achieve an output of falsehood, versus using something that is sacred to achieve something that is so lowly. Don't use the Quran to try to win an argument. Don't try to throw in your religion thing. And subhanAllah, we see this, and it is the case, right, that religion becomes the conversation of the day, and it becomes a form of gossip, it becomes a form of namima, it becomes a form of all sorts of lowly things. And because someone wants to win an argument so bad, or wants to appear educated on something, they'll start talking about something they have no business talking about. Why? Because I want to be the center of attention at the table. I want to appear to be knowledgeable. I want people to say certain things about me. So you have to solve the underlying spiritual condition, and certainly not increase it with something that is so beautiful and so pure. So it's that sacred knowledge, ilmin la yanfa', that sacred knowledge should never, the worst thing you could do is take sacred knowledge and use it as a means of a false ideal.